Good evening, everyone. My name is Oliver Pinnock. I'm the chairman here at the Central Florida Zoo and Botanical Gardens, and I want to thank everybody for coming tonight. This wonderful organization could not be possible without the support from the community that we have and the volunteers that are here tonight, along with the staff and everything that they do to make this place tick. The Central Florida Zoo is a nonprofit organization governed by a group of volunteer board of trustees. These trustees are peers within your community. Some of them may work at the same places that you work. Some of them may own small businesses that you visit in downtown Sanford or throughout Seminole County. Our responsibility as the board of trustees comes down to how can we best support the staff in executing the vision and the mission that the zoo has set out before us. Right? That is our number one responsibility. And there's a lot of ways we do that. The top most important way we do that is by being ambassadors. All of us in here are cheerleaders of the zoo. That's why we're here tonight. Right? As trustees, when we go out, whether it be in the business community or in our personal lives, it's all about us being cheerleaders and being that ambassador. The good news is the zoo, Richard, the entire staff, they make it really, really easy for us to be cheerleaders. When Richard asked me to come up and do the opening statement, he sent me a list of things, some bullet points that I could talk about, trying to make my life really easy. Because he's awesome. That's what he does. And these were accolades, achievements, awards that have been bestowed upon the zoo, such as best place for family fun in Central Florida. Right? One of them was best tourist attraction in Orlando. I don't know if you guys know this, but there's a place just down the interstate that a lot of people tend to visit. So it's nice to win some of those awards occasionally. The list goes on, and we're very proud of those. We really appreciate those. We appreciate the time and effort that the folks put into it to tally up the votes, the energy that goes into giving out those awards. They mean a lot, and we're proud of those. But there's one that I'm more proud of that makes it easy for me to be that advocate that I talk about. And that is our AZA accreditation. The AZA is the Association of Zoos and Aquariums. It's a nationwide accreditation that is given to, it sets the gold standard for animal care and education and conservation. There are over 3,000 facilities in the United States that are licensed to care for animals and educate about animals. Only 235 have this AZA accreditation. Okay, so this is, we're talking less than, 7-8%? I mean, so if you went on a national trip and decided, hey, I'm gonna go visit a bunch of zoos, it means only 1 in 12 that you visit would be AZA accredited. And these are the things that go on behind the doors here at the zoo, right? I bring my family here and the kids love it. The elephants, the giraffes, we don't have elephants, so we're gonna pretend like, but not yet. But anyway, the giraffes, there's so many wonderful animals here, Fiji the rhino. But the AZA accreditation, it goes behind the scenes, right? There are animals here that we literally have maybe 1, 2, 3 of the species, that there may only be handfuls remaining of the species in the entire world. And the AZA has entrusted us to care for these animals, put together a species survival plan, an SSP, that some of the amazing people that are going to come up behind me and talk in much more depth about how these processes work and what goes into it, can share more about those. And I'm really excited that you get to listen to that, because this is the kind of stuff this is why I can be an ambassador. This is why I can go up. I've been born and raised in Florida my whole life, big outdoorsman. I'm now raising my kids with those same values, and it makes it easy for me to preach this stuff when I know that the team here at the zoo is living and breathing animal care and conservation. And it's backed up by this accreditation that it's less than 7% of the animal care facilities in the entire country are good enough to qualify for it. And by the way, we've had that since 1986. So again, I just want to harp on that. I wanted to touch base on that because I know everybody here, you're here because you're passionate about this place. You're passionate about the animal care and the conservation efforts. The awards, the tourism side of it, the business development side of it, the team is doing a phenomenal job. They really are. And we're proud of that too. But this place is more than just about that. There's so much that goes on behind the scenes, and they're going to talk about that a lot tonight. I'm really excited to listen to him. The more I talk here, the less you're going to get to listen to them. So I'm about to wrap it up. Don't worry. But just take all that in, and then when you go home, share those stories. Share that there are 38 species here that are on a survival plan. 38 SSPs. That's a lot. Each one of those has an ambassador. All right, somebody that is responsible for looking out for that species. All right, I wish I had somebody looking out for me. I feel like I need it sometimes. But that's the kind of stuff that goes on here that isn't always on the news, that the Channel 6 doesn't always pick up on. And I'm really glad everybody's here tonight. I appreciate you coming out, taking your time on a Wednesday evening to be here and listen to this stuff. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and pass it off to our fearless leader, CEO Richard Glover.
I want to echo those thanks for everyone being here tonight. I know weather wasn't ideal, and so I appreciate everyone coming out despite that. I want to talk a little bit about capacity building. So over the course of 2022 and 2023, we went through a strategic planning process where we developed a new strategic plan, master plan, and business plan. As part of that, we used the entire team at the zoo, our board, volunteers, local elected officials, people from other businesses. We got input from everywhere in the community we could to develop that plan of what the zoo would become long-term in the future. It's a very comprehensive plan that would expand what we have to offer here. It would expand the zoo itself, the different kinds of species we have, the programs we have, all those things. But it's something that will take a lot of time, a lot of years. And what we recognized as we finished that plan was it will take at least 3 or 4 years, and that's what we're in now, of capacity building in order to achieve what we want to achieve and be able to raise the kind of funds we need to and have the community support we need to. But capacity building doesn't just mean raising money. The other part of that is we have to get our staff ready to be a larger organization and to be able to handle the changes that brings and the new responsibilities that brings. So we've really put more focus over the last year on professional development than we had in the past. So that can mean a number of things. For our leadership team, we brought in a leadership communication specialist who came and did 4 days of seminars with our leadership team so we could learn better how we communicate individually and with each other. And so it really helped the way we work with each other over time. We also brought in some local consultants to teach the leadership team specifically about inclusive leadership and making sure that we were being inclusive in our practices here at the zoo and with our team. So with our communications training that we did with the leadership staff, we then took that to the entire staff and did it with everybody at one of our all-staff meetings. So at this point, everyone has a little better idea of how to communicate with each other on all levels, and so that's really helped us going forward. There are a lot of different ways in which our team gets professional development at this point, including things like professional conferences, online courses, in-person courses, job shadowing. We do a lot of safety training. We do a lot of drills. Dawn here, our education manager, is in charge of coordinating a lot of those. We work with, local officials for some of them. Everything from fire safety to an escaped animal drill to if someone gets bit by a venomous animal, you name it, active shooter. We're doing drills on all those things, and everyone's getting training on those things too. And also, as far as job shadowing, we have people that do job shadowing here on site, but we also send people to other institutions and let them do job shadowing there and to be able to talk about best practices between different organizations. And we do we have a lot of committees that are cross-departmental committees, things like our safety committee, our DEIA committee, conservation. We have one that's a celebration committee that's specifically to help celebrate what the staff is doing. But all of those are open to anyone on the staff at any level. And so we encourage people on all levels to participate and be part of that so they can develop their skills as well and have a voice. The other part of capacity building, obviously, is the external part. And there are a lot of pieces to that. Part of it is absolutely donors, but it's our elected officials and spending time with them and them getting to know us as an organization, bringing them in and showing them the zoo and talking about what we do. A lot of the things Oliver alluded to that happen behind the scenes, you'd be surprised how many of our elected officials have no idea we're anything but just somewhere you go to look at animals. And so it's been great to bring in, you'll see Representative Rachel Plakin right here. She was here with her family last month. And I spent about 3 hours with them on a Saturday morning, taking them around, telling them about the zoo, about different programs in conservation. And those opportunities are great. She leaves the zoo, as most of our officials that have come here have, saying, let us know if there's anything you need from us. And that's exactly what we need. So those kind of relationships, both with our elected officials, with other local businesses, other local nonprofits that we may be able to partner with so we can serve the community better. But all of those kinds of capacity building relationships are really important to our future and what we want to become, because we really, to expand to be what we want to be, it's going to take this entire community supporting us. And so you'll see us out in the community more and more often. Lee and I are out on the circuits speaking to Rotary clubs, chambers of commerce on a regular basis. If someone calls and says, will you come speak and tell us about the zoo? It's pretty much always a yes. We're happy to do it. We're excited to do it. But, that is, in order to move forward the way we need to, and in order to grow the way we need to, we just continue to build those relationships and build up our team and their abilities. And now I will turn it over to Chris Torge, our Director of Animal Operations.
Hello, everyone. My name is Christopher Torge. I'm the Director of Animal Operations, and I wanted to talk a little bit tonight about our focus on conservation. We are known for our work with the indigo snake, newts, and our Amur leopards, but behind the scenes, we have a lot of people on staff that work with the AZA organization with a lot of different species. So Erin, who is our curator, she's the common squirrel monkey SSP coordinator and also the stud bookkeeper for that species. And to hold those titles, you have to take a very extensive long class. She's taken a week-long class, and she's going to do another week-long class to hold those titles. She's also the Kinkajou SSP vice coordinator and on the FASA SSP management group. Kristen, one of our longtime keepers here, she is on the steering committee for clouded leopards and also developed the husbandry manual for clouded leopards. Kendall, one of our keepers here, developed the body conditioning score chart for Kinkajou. And this is a chart that's shared with institutions all over the nation. And then another keeper, Bria, she also did the same, but for FUSA. None of those documents existed before for Kinkajous or FUSA, so we're really proud of their contribution for those species. And then for myself, I'm the Chicoan Peccary SSP co-chair, as well as the FASA confiscation coordinator. That's the Florida Association of Zoos and Aquariums. And last year, we were able to house and find homes for over 200 animals that were confiscated, mostly coming into the Port of Miami and the Miami airport. So we have had several births this year. As you can see right there, our Heckel's leaf-tailed gecko, we have had 5 successful hatchings. We've also had a blue diker born. He was born in February, as well as a prehensile-tailed skink. All of these were SSP recommendations for breeding, and you can see that juvenile skink right outside the door here in the bug zoo. So we are focused on breeding our Amur leopards. We have tried to put our leopards together many times. They just don't understand each other's language. So we've reached out to other sources, other zoos, other big cat experts. And also right now we are collecting fecal samples from our female, and we are in partnership with a laboratory that is helping us track her hormones. The good thing is that she has a normal estrus cycle, so that's great. And we're going to use all of that information that we get from all of those hormone analyses so that we can put the leopards together at just the right time in hopes that we have a successful breeding. And then this year, we also brought in a new Fusa female into our collection. She was here for several weeks. And when breeding season came, which is just about 2 weeks in the beginning of April, we introduced her to the male. And as you can see from that photo, things went really well. So we did have breeding, but unfortunately, she did not conceive. So hopefully this coming April, again, when we see all those signs that she's coming into estrus, we'll put her together with the male, apply everything that we learned last year to this year, and hopefully we'll have some Fusa cubs. And now I would like to introduce Dawn.
Well, good evening, everybody. And it has been another successful year of teaching hearts and engaging minds. And as you can see from up here, we're very excited about these numbers. During the past year, over 44,000 people have participated in our education programs, and we are honored to be an education resource for so many of the surrounding counties. As a zoo that welcomes all, we reach out to teach through our outreach programs, homeschool programs, curriculum-based programs based on the Florida state standards for kindergarten through middle school grade levels, school break camp and summer camp programs. We have animal encounter presentations for all age groups, tours of the zoo, preschool programs such as our free story time at the zoo program offered September through May, and our summertime Cub Club preschool series. There's also scout programs, overnights, and specialty programs such as Kids Night Out, Wild Zoo Art, and Night Hike at the Zoo. This year, we also introduced our new Sensory Safari program for children with varying abilities. There is truly something for everyone here at our zoo. So, in February, we hosted the FAZE conference. This is the Florida Association of Zoological Educators, and it's a 2-day conference that brings together environmental educators from zoos, aquariums, science centers, and from environmental centers across the state. It gives us an opportunity to share ideas, spark creativity, and create a network of resources and further the education mission of AZA. FAZE was originally started right here at our zoo over 25 years ago. It was started by our Director of Education and the Director of Education at the Brevard Zoo, who came together with the idea of bringing environmental education specialists together so that we could talk and share ideas. And that has continued on to this day. We now do biannual meetings. Each of the participating facilities take turns hosting it so that we can visit and see other zoos and aquariums and science centers and how they do things, so that it really shows how through AZA and environmental education, we all really support each other, encourage each other, and we're great at sharing ideas. This was something fun we did for them while they were here. You can see 2 of our ambassador animal keepers are up here with Porks, our Cape porcupine, as we were demonstrating some of our training techniques. So very a great opportunity to share with everyone. And I love these pictures. This is just a sampling, just a taste of how we connect with kids and adults. The zoo is not just for kids. It's definitely for everyone. And some examples of some of the programs you can see are our summer camp programs, the kids down on here on the floor with our Savannah monitor, one of our beautiful parrots here, how they're engaging in one of our wild art program. We always feature a special animal and bring it out. So it comes with a conservation message and meeting a really cool animal. Well, children and adults get to paint their portrait to take home with them. Our kids, we offer summer camps, everything from Pirates of the Zooribian to Swamp Stompin' Gone Wild, Junior Zookeeper, you name it. So we really do get the kids in the creeks. They really do go swamp stomping here at the zoo. And then after dark, our night hike at the program, we have one coming up this weekend, which is a partnership with the Seminole State College. And someone from their planetarium will be coming out with a telescope to share with everyone. So you'll get to see the night sky as well. So very exciting opportunities. But we're privileged to be able to offer an amazing array of educational opportunities. And thanks to our incredible education team, volunteers, zoo staff, and over 40 different species of ambassador animals, we are accomplishing great things. From toddlers to teenagers, we watch children grow, blossom, and bloom as they build self-confidence, discover their creativity, and build friendships through hands-on education. These are children inspired to care for our planet, to take action for wildlife, and make a difference in the lives of those around them. We are celebrating 9 years this year of a partnership with the Sanford Middle School Pre-Vet program. This partnership was started by Courtney Friedman, their lead pre-vet teacher, because she was a docent here at the zoo while she was in college. And now she is inspiring her students by bringing them here to the zoo. One of her students with an especially difficult home life is now applying for vet school and recently said to her, "Can you believe, Miss Friedman, that I was just at the zoo taking classes and now I'm realizing my dream of applying for vet school." And rumor has it, he has a really good chance of getting in. So, generations of children that have grown up here at the zoo are now returning to work here or in fields that support them and continuing the zoo's mission of being inclusive, striving for excellence, caring wholeheartedly, and supporting a sustainable future. Angela Mooring first came to the zoo as a 13-year-old teen teamer. She went on to become a docent, working with our ambassador animals and teaching programs, and later as an instructor for the program and became an education staff person. Today, she is a special education teacher working on her doctorate. Her love of the zoo, the staff and volunteers here, and the animals brings her back every year to lead a special training program for our education team to help us to be inclusive and welcoming to all. We have seen these teams and staff that have benefited by their time here go on to become managers and directors of environmental centers, biologists and researchers working in the field doing everything from sea turtle rescue to studying genetic diversity in giraffes. They are professors and entomologists, weather specialists, park rangers, and zoo directors. Thank you, Dr. Stephanie Williams, one of our very first zoo teachers here at the zoo, who went on to complete her master's degree and doctorate with a focus on education and sustainability for the future of our zoo. Thank you for all you do and for those you inspire. Through education comes inspiration, motivation, and the self-confidence to follow your dreams. And if the sky's the limit, our goal is to make sure they reach for the stars. And did I mention, some of these folks now work for the space program. We take caring for the planet very seriously. Thank you, everyone, on behalf of our education department.
Okay, welcome everybody. I'm Dr. James Bogan. I'm the Chief Veterinary Officer for the zoo, as well as the Director for the Orion Center for Indigo Conservation. I'm going to talk a little bit about local conservation efforts that we participate in, and that's mainly through our off-site facility, the Orion Center for Indigo Conservation, which we'll often say OCIC for short because it's a mouthful. There is where we breed the eastern indigo snake. And we do this for the sole purpose of repatriating or releasing that snake back into the regions where they've been extirpated or locally extinct. And this past year, we released 41 snakes into the panhandle of Florida at the Nature Conservancy's Appalachia Bluffs Ravines Preserve. And then we also released 40 additional 2-year-old snakes in the Pinnock National Forest in the southern part of Alabama. That's not the only project that we're involved with out at OCIC. We are also involved with the striped newts. The striped newt is an imperiled amphibian species that's endemic to Georgia and Florida, and their numbers have also been decimated. This program has been put together with the Coastal Plains Institute in Apalachicola National Forest. And this year, with our partners, the Amphibian Foundation, Detroit Zoo, and FWC, we were able to release over 600 newts this year. Something you may not be aware of, at OCIC, we have a team that is always looking into creating more or adding to the scientific literature. And we do invest in studies, and this is a list of 8 publications that have just been put out in the last 12 months from team members that are working through OCIC. One of the studies that's really interesting that you may not be aware of is environmental DNA.
or eDNA is often referred to. This is a cutting edge technology that's being used in conservation medicine. Most commonly, it's used in aquatic species where they'll sample waters from streams or ponds and see if there's an endangered fish or crayfish or amphibian in that water. We're now looking at see if we can find DNA in the soil, and we were able to pick up DNA from endangered species in the soil. And the OCIC was able to be the control group for a project that was partnered with the Orient Society, USDA Forest Service, U.S. Fish and Wildlife, Texas A&M, Illinois, University of Illinois, Auburn University, the U.S. Forest Service, and the Department of Defense, as well as the Nature Conservancy. And we were able to get an enclosure outside with a known size and put a snake in for 5 minutes, then put a snake in for 10 minutes, put a snake in for an hour, put a snake in for 4 hours, put a snake in for 6 hours. Then we would collect a sample 1 hour later, 4 hours later, 12 hours later, a day later, 2 days, 4 days, a week, 10 days. We were able to determine how long it would take a snake to be sitting in one area for DNA to be detected and how long would that DNA last in the environment. This has been recently published in one of the peer-reviewed journals I just showed on the previous slide. And it looks like most of the time snakes need to be in an area for about an hour, and it looks like it'll last about a week. So this is moved into the next phase of the project. We're starting to look at wild gopher tortoise burrows where the snakes normally inhabit. And we're able to, with known burrows with snakes, we're able to take samples out of there and quantify that. That project is going on, and this will hopefully lead towards future monitoring where we go to new areas to see if we can't, how do you find a snake? Sometimes they're hiding, you can't find them. But if we can get a soil sample and get the DNA, we might be able to tell if they're present or not in a certain area. So currently what we do when we're tracking our snakes that we do release is we do mostly pedestrian surveys, and that's where we have our field biologist out walking the field looking for them. We try to hedge our bets with drift fences, and we're also doing this with some camera traps. So we put out these 50-foot drift fence arrays. And a drift fence is basically a silk fence. You've seen at construction sites, they put these little 2-foot fences that keep the dirt from going into the road. So we'll put these out in the middle of the woods and make a big X out of it. And in the center of the X, we'll put a camera, we'll put a little gate and a camera trap. So any critter goes through that gate, takes a picture. We now have hundreds of thousands of photos that need to be reviewed. And our field biologists are going sort of cross-eyed looking at all these images because quite a few of them are just mice coming through or a bird coming through or some other snake coming through. Zooniverse is a project that is a citizen science project put together from FWC. And there are several channels on that Zooniverse. And the Eastern Indigo Snake Watch program was instituted just a few weeks ago in the middle of, was August 13th. And we've already had 115,000 photos reviewed by over 1,500 people. And this is one of the most traveled sites on Zooniverse. If you'd like to scan the QR code, you too can help us look through these photos and help us identify snakes that are coming through. Did you get it? Now I'm going to introduce Stephanie.
Good evening. I'm going to highlight our sustainability program here at the zoo. Taking steps to reduce single-use plastics started way back in the early 2000s with the elimination of plastic bags in our gift shop. We currently use recycled paper bags, and then also you can grab your lovely recycled reusable bags here. We have also converted all of our plastic beverage bottles to aluminum options thanks to our partnership with Pepsi. And that's been great for us here at the zoo. And then we're continuing that journey. We're looking at our purchasing practices in all areas of the zoo, but also, again, in the gift shop. We're working with our food vendor food and beverage vendor, SSA, as we try to limit what we are contributing to landfills by using biodegradable, reusable materials, compostable materials in all of our services here at the zoo. And then making sure that we're also following these general purchasing guidelines. I do want to highlight, too, that were really important for our staff here at the zoo. One was disposable gloves. As you can imagine, we go through a lot of gloves. And it was really important for the staff to find a way to make sure that these gloves are just not going into the landfills. And so we were able to switch to a biodegradable glove, which is an alternative. It's a nice alternative for our staff, and it's helping us to be able to reduce our impact in the environment. And then also, we were able to switch to our cleaning. We were able to switch our cleaning products to a company that's called Buckeye Eco, and all of their products are recyclable, biodegradable. And I'm going to pull out another show and tell here. This is what it comes in. So it's an alternative to the rigid plastic containers that you normally would see for cleaning products. And it's 83% less plastic than those rigid containers. It's recyclable and biodegradable. We can refill it into our own units, and then the teams can utilize those. And so it's important for us as a consumer to buy products like this, but it's important for us to work with producers of these products who are also choosing to help the environment. And together, we've been able to keep 28 tons of plastic out of the landfill. So it's really important for us to do. We're applying the 3 R's here at the zoo where possible. So as you saw on the last slide, we've adopted practices such as buying in bulk, choosing reusable materials, choosing durable materials, switching. One example is switching our wood boards to composite boards for our boardwalks, avoiding single-use items, minimizing packaging and methods to reduce waste. We reuse lumber and other materials as much as possible. We use boxes, PVC, fire hose, anything we can to create enrichment items for the animals. And then we recycle aluminum, paper, plastic, cardboard. We recycle light bulbs, ink cartridges, batteries, metal. And we're continuing to look for other ways to keep things out of the landfill that we use on an everyday basis. We use a lot of stuff here. By the end of the year, we're working to reinstate our cell phone and electronic device recycling program through EcoCell. We're going to be encouraging visitors to be able to recycle those devices by offering a box location where they can bring in their headphones, their chargers, their handheld gaming devices, their phones, their tablets. This is really important because electronic devices, if you didn't know, contain minerals that are mined in ecologically sensitive areas such as the Congo Basin. And by recycling these items, we're making sure that we're not using new material to produce new phones and devices. So that's really important for the environment and for us to contribute and help educate our visitors on. And then lastly, we have renewable energy here at the zoo. So back in 2014, the zoo partnered with Florida Power and Light to install the solar array. It consists of 40 panels. It produces enough energy to power the average home for 1 year. And it's working to help this building, the Wayne M. Dench Discovery Center. And then in 2020, we also partnered with Florida Power and Light to install 4 electric vehicle charging stations up in the zoo's parking lot. And since then, visitors have been able to charge their cars for free. So thank you. I'm going to turn it back to Chris. That's for you.
Hello again. I just wanted to share a little bit about our animal well-being program with all of you. So we practice animal well-being here every day. It takes up a large part of our time budget. One of those things that we do for every collection animal is give them an animal welfare assessment. So this document is about 6 pages long, and it assesses everything from their environment, who they're living with, their diet. It runs the gamut, and we do it for every collection animal. So for every cockroach you see out there, up to the giraffe and rhino. This is something that we do all year long. And if there's ever any action items that we need to take issue with and, enact on, we will do that. We also have an animal well-being reporting process. So on our Word from the Herd, which is our company newsletter, at the end, there is a QR code. And if you have an animal well-being concern, you're welcome to scan that code and take a survey. You can do it anonymously, or you can attach your name to it, and you can share your animal well-being concern. Staff are also encouraged to talk to any of the animal keepers or myself or our curator about any animal well-being concerns they have. And email is always an option too. All of those concerns go to our animal well-being committee. And if action needs to be taken, we will take action on behalf of that animal. And we also have some committees that help with animal well-being, our training committee and our enrichment committee. And the jobs of those committees are to elevate our training and enrichment programs to meet, the modern standard practices for training and enrichment. One of the things they partner on is choice and control. And choice and control for our animal collection means that we give them options throughout the day to make choices on what they want to do. So some of the results of our animal well-being process, you can see here in these photos. You can see with our 2 warthogs there, their old shade structure was kind of falling apart a little bit. So we had a brand new shade structure built for them. That second photo is mid-construction of our Amur leopard habitat. So we are expanding the Amur leopard habitat. And when the cats inhabit that area once again, hopefully very soon, they will have a bigger, better space to live. The upper photo right there, that is our eagle pond, which was installed last year. It's a very cool, dynamic part of their habitat now with waterfalls, different depths of water, and different substrate. And then if you haven't visited the herpetarium lately, the crocodile monitor and Grand Cayman Island iguana areas have totally been refurbished. Not just so much for the animals too, because they have brand new habitats, but a nice shade structure for all the guests that will be viewing those animals as well. And some of the animals that we give choice and control to are on this slide. So for our bears, what that means for them is midday, we give them the opportunity to have access to their building. So if they wanted to go inside and not be visible to the guests, they have that opportunity. With our warthogs, we know that they do not like music. So when we do have after-hour events or events that do have a music or DJ, we give them access to their back holding so they can get out of that loud noise. For our giraffe, we mix up how we manage them just about every day. Sometimes they have access to their yard. Sometimes they have access to their barn. Allows them to have choice and control of where they want to be. And then for our ambassador animal collection, Spot, the turtle right there, she has the opportunity to say no, she doesn't want to go to work that day, and she doesn't have to participate in a program if she doesn't want to. And also with our animal well-being program, we know we do a good job, but we have all of these government agencies that give us inspection that are also telling us that we're doing a good job. That's going to be USDA, FWC, the Association of Zoos and Aquariums, and then APHIS. And APHIS is the Animal Plant Health Inspection Service, and they're more concerned about the well-being of our arthropods, things like our hissing cockroaches and our millipedes. And I'd like to turn it back over to Richard.
Yeah.
So any of you that have been to the annual meeting before or have heard me speak somewhere else, this will sound familiar. But for our staff, for our team, it's really important that this zoo is a place that everyone feels welcome, feels safe, and appreciated. So Welcome All became one of the pillars of our strategic plan and the way we do business. And it's really important to the staff. And you see that carried throughout everything from our programs to our events. I'm going to just give you some examples from different areas of some of those types of things. So one of them is our Sunsets to the Zoo at the Zoo program. The fourth Friday of every month from May through September, we do these. And starting last year, we started to celebrate different communities each time we did one of them. It's an opportunity to invite people in that don't always feel welcome and feel invited everywhere, and celebrate them and celebrate sometimes their culture, sometimes different things about them, their food. But we bring people in. There's a chance for people to get educated, but also just to have a good time and be exposed to something different. But these events have quickly taken off. They are accessibility events for us too. We keep the prices extremely low, much lower than they are on a normal day. To give you an example, an adult on a peak day is going to pay $25.95 to get in here. On those nights, they pay $6. So these are an opportunity not just to invite in parts of the community, but also to make sure that everyone's able to come and participate in that. For the staff, they've become real favorites. Being able to see the smiles on people's faces and hear people say, hey, thank you for inviting us and thank you for making us feel like we're important to you. So something we're really proud of. And in making that change, we had Sunsets at the Zoo for a number of years before this. Making that change, we have more than doubled our attendance on those over the last few years. This year, we've had 4 of the 5, and we're averaging over 1,000 people per event. So those have really taken off, and we see that the community is really enjoying those too. As part of those, and part of something we do with our staff too, we really encourage listening to our staff and to our guests and making people feel heard. Part of that with our staff, I mentioned that we have a number of committees they can serve on. Anyone at any level of the organization can serve on those committees. And those committees help choose direction on certain things the zoo does, and they affect policy. And so it's an opportunity for all of our employees to have a voice in something that's important to them that isn't necessarily their normal job and duties. You'll also see through our programs, we're trying to find ways to make sure that more people feel welcome that don't necessarily always get catered to at different places. So one of the things we developed that Dawn mentioned earlier is our sensory safari. And it's an opportunity for people that have some sensory issues to be able to come and enjoy the zoo and learn and experience things in an environment where you have reduced stimuli and the ability for them to enjoy it in a way that they couldn't if you had a large crowd, a lot of music, the water from the splash pad. And so we keep trying to find different ways to serve different communities like that may not have other opportunities. We want everyone to be able to come to the zoo, and maybe their experience won't be exactly the same as everybody else, but we want them to have a quality experience and be able to interact with animals and get that same feeling everyone else does from coming to the zoo. And then finally, our physical facility is the other place you will see us making a lot of changes, and we have been making a lot of changes. One of the things Stephanie alluded to was the changes in our boardwalks. So we've moved from traditional wood to a composite wood. Part of the benefit is, yes, it will last longer, and that's good for us. That's good for everybody. But it's also less slippery. And for people in wheelchairs, we've been told much better for traction. So continuing to do things like that and find different ways as we build new exhibits, as we refurbish older exhibits, to make sure when it comes to viewing angles, things like that, that we're considering what the experience is for someone that may be in a wheelchair or at different levels, and trying to think about those things and incorporate them in the way we're developing different parts of the zoo and changing parts of the zoo going forward. And now back to Dr. Bogan.
Okay, I want to just talk about a couple animal well-being facets from the veterinarian's point of view. We examine all of our animals on a regular basis, either yearly or every other year, depending on the lifespan and life stage of the animal. And we rely heavily on the keeper staff in between those times to alert us of conditions that may be arising when they're not being examined. The idea is to try to find any issue before it's a big problem. One such issue that we had in the last year was one of our bears had broke a tooth. And typically the treatment for most animals that break their tooth is to have that tooth extracted. This is one of the bigger teeth in this animal, and it's a structural tooth for the jaw. And we would rather try to save this tooth than pull it. And we contracted with one of a veterinary dentist from New England who actually came down here and performed a root canal for us. We also take pride in that we take care of our animals so they get old age disease things. So we have a Savannah monitor and a macaw this past year that developed cataracts because they lived long enough to get them. Well, that impacted their quality of life because they could not see as well. And our local veterinary ophthalmologist helped us out in removing those cataracts. Pretty cool pictures, right? And we don't just limit ourselves to Western medicine. Dr. Mason, who's on staff here, is certified in veterinary acupuncture. And some of our geriatric animals are also developing arthritis. And when pills and elixirs don't work anymore, we've reached out with some acupuncture. And you can see here it's really pit viper getting some acupuncture, so it's not just for mammals. And our alpaca is getting some acupuncture here as well, and we're hitting up a couple of our goats too. I'm going to turn it over to Emilie.
Hello, everyone. I am the volunteer manager and conservation committee co-chair at our zoo. Our volunteers are part of our community that makes the zoo who we are. This fiscal year, we continue to improve our 13 volunteer programs, including adult and teen volunteers, volunteers with special abilities who are preparing to join the workforce, group volunteers, and more. We averaged over 800 volunteers in group service organizations throughout our fiscal year, and collectively, our volunteers contributed over 24,000 hours with an estimated combined value of over $830,000 of volunteer time. Now, our numbers can be impressive to share with you all, but it's the connections we make that are what is missing from these statistics. We have members of our community who have aged out of their special abilities programs in school and were wanting a welcoming place to give back. So they regularly assist us with making animal enrichment for our special events. We had groups who not only contributed their time to us, but they also donated their resources for us to have new items like presentation carts for ambassador animals. And of course, we have our incredible recurring volunteers who give back to us in a number of ways every single day at the zoo and OCIC. And I see some of you in here too. We truly have volunteers from all over our community, of all ages, abilities, backgrounds, and experience. We have new volunteers and volunteers who have been with us for decades, but each one we connect with has a story. The one I want to share with you is about the little boy in the picture up there touching an alligator with a docent from almost 10 years ago. That little boy grew up coming to our zoo and fell in love with wildlife. It's all he's ever talked about. He dreamt of being part of a zoo, so when he became a teenager, he applied for our Teen Team program. In his application, he said the following: "When people get close to wildlife, they're excited. They care. The richer you make that experience for them, the more likely they will want to act. For young kids, your zoo might represent the first introduction to the concept of conservation. And occasionally you get into a magical conversation that leaves you saying, that kid's going to change the world one day." The kid who said this is Orlando, and he is now one of our Teen Team volunteers. And seeing kids just like him grow up to be part of our bigger mission of conservation is why we're all here. And speaking of conservation, I'd like to share with you some of our efforts in conservation this year. This fiscal year, we participated in 2 waterway cleanups. One was done at our adopted river, Soldiers Creek in Longwood, in partnership with Seminole County Serve. The other was done along the shore of New Smyrna Beach in celebration of World Ocean Day. From these cleanups, we estimated to collect over 500 pounds of combined litter. We also celebrated 6 conservation events at the zoo, reaching almost 14,000 guests. At these events, we collectively raised almost $1,500 supporting conservation organizations like AZA's Saving Animals from Extinction program, which works with conservation professionals across the globe to save animals in their native ranges. We were able to use those funds to contribute to the purchase of 2 Asian hornbill nests, 1 month of infectious disease screenings for turtles like radiated tortoises, conservation initiatives for North American songbirds, habitat restoration for Andean bears, and preserving monarch butterfly habitats. We are so proud of all that we have accomplished as a team, but again, it was the memories we made with each other and our community the impacts we made to improve our local ecosystems, and the animals we help save are what drives us every day. Personally, it made my heart very full to see our staff, volunteers, and their families with smiles spread across their faces, picking up trash, quite literally in the trenches of the creek, and racing their family members to see who can get the litter fastest on the beach. At our conservation events, I watch kids talk to a conservationist who just got back from Africa saving a pangolin from the wildlife trade. I watch families gather to create a place for a toad to sleep in their backyards. I watch guests get excited to talk about responsible pet ownership and their research on exotic pets, and so much more. We focus our fiscal year on connecting staff and volunteers of every department to have a part in local conservation, and build on connections we can make with our guests that celebrate our animals and how our community can be part of our mission of conservation. Through all of our efforts, it was clear to see that it is the people who are the heart of conservation, and it is up to us to continue to inspire generations to come together to make a difference. Thank you. And I'd like to introduce Lee, our Chief Development Officer.
Good evening, everybody. My name's Lee, just like it says right there, okay? Great. So I'm the Chief Development Officer for the Central Florida Zoo, and it's an honor to be here working on behalf of the zoo. My charge, well, really it's our charge because I can't do any of this stuff by myself. The development team, Shelly and Jenny are somewhere around here. Wave, please. And Jenny's over here. And Marcia couldn't be with us tonight. But it is our charge to try to invite folks to contribute money to the zoo. It is an honor to do that. And this has been a successful year doing that. And we're only hoping that it's going to get even better and better as we move on. So one of the things that we do every year is host events. I think you guys have all come to one of our events somewhere along the line. The Hippity Hop Adventure, the Zoo Boo Bash, Sunset at the Zoo, the Asian Lantern Festival, Indigo Bluegrass Barbecues. We have events, but those events wouldn't happen unless we had really, really generous and kind supporters and corporations who would help us to make those events possible. Companies like Publix, Wharton Smith, Tim, thank you so much for your support. Folks like Orlando Health and Thermotane Propane. These companies embrace our mission to create connections, and we couldn't do that job without them, and we're very grateful for their belief in what we're trying to do. In addition to these incredible events that go on throughout the year, and I'll mention a few more of those here shortly, we have an opportunity to get engaged with corporations and donors to support our animals and our habitats. And the last year, we've been able to have some successes doing that where we have not had as much success in the past. It is an honor this year to have some new corporations join us as sponsors of our habitats to help make sure that we have all the food that we need, that we have all the medicines that we need, that we enhance in habitat to make it as enriched and comfortable and a welcoming home for the animals. Companies like Fairwinds and Giselle right here. There's Giselle, Fairwinds, who's Fairwinds Credit Union, who's sponsoring our bald eagle habitat. Wekiva Island is helping us make sure that Fern and Molly, our otters, are happy and healthy. Where's Carrie? Carrie, thank you for doing that for us. Oops, I went too fast. Where we go? There we go. All right. And also we're thrilled to welcome our newest sponsor of one of our habitats, the St. John's River Ship. Michelle over here is right there. Michelle, thank you for doing that for us. We sure do appreciate that. And I would say there's more habitats that are available for sponsorship. If anyone's interested, find me after this speech here. As we move on, we've also had more time and opportunity to visit with more companies. And that's the combined effort of Richard and Shelley and the whole development team and the zoo as a whole, talking to more and more companies. One of those that we talked to is a longtime scion of Seminole County, and that's A. Duda and Sons. They've been around forever. They are Seminole County. They helped make it become the great city or the great area that it is. And we were thrilled to welcome them as a new sponsor this year. They came on board and sponsored our kids' camps, the summer camps that we do. And they just had a great time this summer. The kids had a phenomenal time. You can see they got cool little T-shirts and everything, so that's great. They're even helping us with our camps in the springtime, this coming spring, and they had so much fun that they've already committed to joining us again for another year after that. So it's an honor and for us, and we're humbled to be able to welcome them as one of our new sponsors. So thank you to A. Duda and Sons. So thank you very much to them. Moving on, I wouldn't be doing my job if I didn't ask you guys to come back to the zoo. Of course, Halloween is not Halloween without the Zubu Bash. Who's been there? I've been there. It's fun. Got your costumes ready? Okay. So the Zubu Bash takes place the 3 weekends prior to Halloween. It's absolutely a blast for anybody with families, kids, grandkids, nieces, nephews. Come on out to the zoo, have a great time. Good food, good drinks, bounce houses, live music, DJ spinning tunes. It's a lot of fun. Please come to the Zubu Bash. And then in November, we have this little thing called the Asian Lantern Festival. I don't know if anyone's ever been to that. If you haven't, shame on you. But we're coming back again. We'll be back on November 15th. Tickets will go on sale in October, a little bit earlier if you're a member and or a sponsor, which, by the way, you can still become a sponsor. Lanterns are available for sponsorship, and I'm happy to visit with you at any time. We couldn't do what we do as a zoo without the help of everyone in this room. Sponsors, whether it's individuals, corporations, or foundations. Your generosity makes all of this possible, and we're very grateful for that. So after that, I think the resident expert here with most time on stage is Chris Torge. One more time, Chris. Come on, Chris.
Okay, I just wanted to share with you some of our newest residents here at the zoo from the past year. A lot of people ask how we decide what animals to house here at the zoo. So zoo leadership, along with the recommendations from AZA, especially for SSP animals, we abide by those recommendations, and that's how we bring animals here into our collection. And then for those animals that don't have an SSP, we pick those animals to come into our collection that align with our mission and our vision. So some of the animals that came in that are SSP this year are our pygmy geese, or African pygmy geese. You can find them in the front aviary, along with a brand new Palawan peacock pheasant. We also brought in 3 squirrel monkeys this year, and they're housed with our spider monkeys. And then also a new spider monkey joined our troop. His name is Ali. He has a confiscation story. He was smuggled across the border from Mexico into California, and through coordination with the spider monkey SSP and government officials, we deemed that this would be the best place for him to live, and he has joined our troop, and he is best friends with our resident spider monkey big guy, who is about 44 years old. Some new SSP animals as well. We have Aruba Island rattlesnakes. The one that we got in is very much a juvenile, so in several years, it'll be large enough and mature enough to breed with our other one. Our crocodile monitors, we have 2 brand new ones. They are on a back area right now. We are 95% done finishing their habitat. Once their habitat is done, we'll introduce them to that space. And of course, you might have seen this picture of Fern, the North American river otter. She joined Molly, our resident otter. Fern is about 5. Molly is 17, and she's really brought out the youngster in Molly, and Molly's acting like a young otter again, and we really love to see that. Some non-SSP animals that came in this year as well. We have Angolan coral snakes, Sri Lankan pit vipers, northern pine snakes, and western diamondback rattlesnake. All of these you'll be able to see in the herpetarium once they mature or once their habitats are renovated. And then some non-SSP animals, the Baja Blue rock lizard, one of my favorite animals here at the zoo. His name is Blast. He's found in the herpetarium. We also brought in a cane toad for the ambassador program, and then 5 Gira cuckoos, which are in the aviary across from the barnyard. And then, of course, revisiting our births, so our very cute juvenile blue duiker right there, his name is Bisque. One of our Henkel's leaf-tailed geckos, the prehensile-tailed skink juvenile, which is found here in the bug zoo, and then in the herpetarium and bug zoo, some of our yellow-headed poison dart frogs. And now I'd like to turn it back to Richard.
So looking ahead, one of the things that a couple of people have touched on is our emerald leopard habitat expansion. Is construction is finally complete. We are finishing a few little touches, including signage, and very soon the female will move in, and then eventually, after she's comfortable, the male will move in too. So we're excited to have those. You know, as we've talked about before in these meetings, there's only 200 of those left in the world, and so it's really exciting to have them. And we're hoping once they get settled in their new spot that they will finally successfully breed. One of the other areas that we want to renovate and to modernize is the crocodilian area. It's one of our older areas, and this is part of being an older facility. So just go ahead to the next slide. We will be next July 4th on this property 50 years since the time that's since grand opening. And so you can imagine there were a few years before that on this property building things for the zoo to get open. So as a result, we have a very old infrastructure here. We have a lot of things we've been working to update over the last few years. We have a lot more we still need to update a lot further. So the crocodilian area and some of the other areas will probably all be wrapped into one capital campaign that we'll be launching later this year, that will be centered around our 50th anniversary on this site and trying to modernize what we can of this site that we haven't already. So we hope all of y'all will be part of that with us. I just want to take a minute here as we get to the end of this presentation to just, if I could ask all the volunteers that are here to stand. Just want to say thank you so much for everything you do for the zoo. We couldn't do everything we do without our volunteers. The amount of time they contribute, we could never possibly afford to pay that many hours of more people on the staff here. So it's just essential to have them. Staff, my staff, all of you that are here, please stand. This team works tirelessly for the animals and for our community, and I'm so proud of them and everything they've done. We could not have a presentation like this and show you all this work. This is one fiscal year, and I'm just so proud of everything they do day in and day out and how seriously they take our mission and they take their care of this community and our animals. So I just wanted to say thank you to every one of you on my team, and thank you to everyone that came here. I mean, your investment of time in this zoo and just being here and listening to what we're doing and going out in the community and talking about it to other people, it means the world to us. You know, there are so many people, just like I mentioned earlier about our elected officials, don't realize so many things that go on behind the scenes at a zoo and how much work isn't about bringing in money. The money is brought in order for us to do the conservation work, to do the education work. I had an old boss that once used to say, and it was so true, no margin, no mission. If we can't turn a profit, if people don't come to the zoo, support our programs, sponsor our habitats, all those things, we don't have the money to put back into doing the conservation work and having events like Sunset at the Zoo where we're losing money, but we're inviting the community in. So it's incredibly important, the role that every one of you in this room plays to the zoo, even if you're not a big donor, if you're not giving a lot of time, whatever contribution you're making and sharing about the zoo and the community is incredibly important to what we do and to sustaining us to the future. So thank you all so much for being here. I'm going to turn it back over to Oliver to close out the meeting.
Dr. Bogan, I scanned your QR code, and for everybody out there, it's like Tinder with snakes, so you know, that kind of thing. It's not my type, but to kind of piggyback off what Richard said, I mean, this is a community organization, right? And it's the volunteers, the $830,000 in value from the volunteers. It's incredible, and that's amazing. All right, that dwarfs the payroll of almost every small business in Seminole County. So to get that kind of support from this area is amazing. One of the reasons I love doing this is I learned something new. I've been here 5 years on the board, and in every meeting, every time I sit through these, I learn something new. And it's just, there's so much incredible stuff going on here. And I'm very thankful for everybody who came out here, who's willing to support us tonight. We hope you're going to continue to support us in the future. So the only homework you have, get on Snake Tinder and go out and be an ambassador for the zoo. All right, thanks everybody. Have a great evening.
He's open to